Now that we have sharing our geometry completely taken care of, we need to share the materials as well. I mean, if you guys decide that a particular wall covering is what you want to use throughout your project, what we'll need to do that, and I guess if whoever is the owner of your box folder maybe can be the person to do it, within your project folder in box, we want to have another folder called materials. And some of you have already made those, I noticed. And the reason is, let's say Allie has defined material to use as a wallpaper that uses a JPEG that's on her hard drive. When her other team members come in and try to render, they won't be able to find that JPEG on her hard drive because she's asleep or her computer's turned off or something or other. So we end up putting all those JPEGs in the materials folder so that all of you will have access to them when it comes time to render. So it's pretty straightforward. And there's one little last thing to do, which is to tell Revit to look at this folder, not to look on your hard drive, but to look on this folder. So it's really just a quick step. So if whoever is the owner of the box folder within your main project folder, create another one called materials, and then we can get started. Whatever your team's box folder is, go to box, and you can do that either in the web interface or in the File Explorer interface, just a new folder, right-click new folder. And that's where everybody's going to put whatever JPEGs they use to make materials. So any one of you can make materials, and then it can be shared with the others. And the way that Revit knows to go find that JPEG is we go into, and this is in your own project. And if you're going to be working in the base model, you'll need to do it in the base model as well. So we go to File, Options, and then pick the Rendering button. And at this point, Revit knows to go look for its materials in its own folders. We don't have to tell it to do that. When you install it, it sets all that up. But this is for where Revit is supposed to find other images to be used for materials and decals. So we want to add here, rendering plus, and I'm going to click on here and navigate over to your box folder, Mutt and Jeff, and then just click on the name of that folder. We're not going to look at the files inside, just pick the folder, click on open, and here it is added to it's called our search path for where images are. So that will aim you all back towards the same image on the drive when it comes time to render stuff. You need to do this in each of the files where you'll be doing rendering. Do this in all 4 of them. So now we come up with the question that, okay, if Allie has defined a material and Kitty wants to render with it, here's a material I made. It's just a Photoshop, red circles. And this is in my Gillis model. Let me get out of here. Close this and go into maybe Nathan's or maybe Molly's. Let's say Molly's, where I don't think I've really done anything yet. So now I'm Molly, and I want to put that same material. I want to use that same red circles material on this wall that I made. So I'll just go to an elevation view. View, elevation, and we'll just sort of look this way. Okay, so that's these walls down here. So I just like to paint that, and let's make sure that in her file, I've got File, Options, Rendering. Okay, in Molly's model, when I go to Paint, I'm looking for a material called red circles, which I don't see here yet, because the reason that Molly's model doesn't show me the red circles material that I used to paint it in my model, even though they both have access to the same JPEG, is that the material has not been created here in this model. I can't apply a material that's just floating around on the internet somewhere. I've got to actually have it here. But I don't want to recreate it, because if I recreate it here, I might get the scale differently. So I have big circles on mine and Molly has little circles on hers, who knows. But there's a really useful tool here called Transfer Project Standards, where you can move things, copy things, materials, wall types, that kind of stuff, from one model into another. And I think this will be very helpful to you. Once somebody has done some degree of customization, then it can be borrowed by the rest of the team. So the way that works is this, and it took me a couple of tries to get everything right in class, tries which I will not repeat here. Transfer Project Standards, from the Gillis model where we saw it working, check none. Materials, okay. Materials, red circles, let's try that. Let's overwrite. Let's try overwrite. There we go. Okay, so I'm not sure what happened the first time around, but that's how that's supposed to work. So now I have this material copied from the Gillis model into the Weisberg model. And if we go down to see where that image is coming from, we can see it's coming out of the materials folder there, the shared materials folder. Okay, that's how that's supposed to work. So we're sharing a lot of different stuff. And it's pretty clear working with Maddie and Katie and Ali earlier that there's a lag time of these catching up with each other. And have other teams experienced that? Can you save a file and then 2 minutes later your teammate can open and it's there? Or because this must have been 15 minutes, which is tough for sort of simultaneously, hey, let's try this sort of way of working. It's more like let's get every couple of hours and see what we have. Everybody save their files and get a cup of coffee and come back and try it.